Hello everyone, my name is Iro Grace Onyinyechi and welcome to today's episode of 24 Karat Hangout. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the impact of social media on young people. And with me, I have Auntie Tosin Esin Nkerowem.
Hi everyone.
All right, Auntie T, there's this popular notion that if you're not on social media, you're missing a lot. And a lot of young persons have heard that and most of them run with that. So I actually want to ask you a question that most young people are asking. And the question is, what do teenagers stand to gain by being on social media?
I think there's a lot to gain by being on social media because, in fairness, I can't compare my generation with the generation right now.
That's correct.
There are things that young people can gain. There are so many lovely resources out there. There are so many godly materials out there and with the way development is going, a lot of people don't have that opportunity to always go for physical meetings.
That's correct.
So sometimes when you find yourself and you are exposed to some of these edifying programs, I think there's a lot to gain from them. And even educationally, there are lots of materials that are shared. There are a lot of things that are on the social media. I know quite a number of schools right now, they even use things like tablets, laptops, and no more the books and papers and pens that we use. And on these platforms, when we talk about social media, we talk about where they interact. So there are times where you even have groups of maybe young scientists that young people have or set up. You have Bible clubs, teens Bible clubs. So there are opportunities like that young people can there are opportunities like that are available for young people.
Seeing how important social media is, do you think that at some point it becomes distracting to the average young person?
So I think there's so much emphasis on the distraction more than the advantage. So we, especially maybe the older generation, maybe from my age upwards, or we are so quick to criticizing and saying, oh, social media is not good and things like that because of the things we have seen. And what are some of those distractions? You see a lot of young people, they practically do nothing in a whole day, especially when they're on holiday, just scrolling from one place to the other. And some of these things they are doing, they are not edifying. And then a lot of young people fall prey of so many forms of media abuse and so many things that happen on social media. A lot of people waste their time. They even get pressured by the things that they see on social media. You're living your life and choosing role models online, people that have a very different kind of life and you're wanting to be like them. So yes, there's so many negative things that can happen when a young person is on social media, but that doesn't remove some of the positive or some of the advantages of being on social media.
Okay, I actually love the sound of that. So for the positive aspects of social media, what can you encourage young people to continue looking out for when they're on social media platforms?
I think one thing every young person should be intentional about, not just social media, is asking yourself the question, why? What am I going to social media to do? You need to already have a principle and you need to set your mind on what exactly am I stepping out there to do. Now, am I going out there to be a consumer? Am I going out there to be a learner? Am I going out there to be a giver? Am I going out there to maybe learn a skill? So you just need, and then what kind of people do I want to be learning from? What are my guiding principles? Because for every young person, you should already have your values all set. So you have your values. If you're following a certain person on social media and the person's values are not in line with your values, what exactly are you doing with that person? Those are some of the questions you need to ask. And you need to be accountable in that whole process, especially having regular conversations. Because if you're not careful, you can fall prey of a lot of things on social media.
Okay, I actually agree with a lot of your points, but now the teenage age is a very important age in the life of every child. So, and I believe parents have some level of influence on their
Yeah.
child and when it comes to their use of social media. Now, my question to you is this: do you think that parents should pose certain level of restriction to the use of social media when it comes to their children?
I think so. And okay, I'm a mother. I would agree with you that there is a need for some level of restriction when young people are on social media or even using smartphones or smart devices.
Yes, technology in general.
Yes, technology in general. Because as a young person, there's a lot of guidance that is needed before you get to a point where you say you can make well-informed decisions.
Okay.
So there are times that it's like a child. Fire is very desirable. When you see fire for the first time, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You love your child. You want your child to explore all beautiful things. Will you love your child enough and say, "Oh, I put on the gas cooker now. Go and play with it and explore it"? But fire is beautiful. You show your child what fire is. You show your child what it is meant for. You put a pot on fire, especially as the child is learning how to cook, and teach the child the proper way to use fire.
To use it.
So that's how it is with social media. And will the child love the process? No, that's the truth. It's very difficult to learn something, especially something that looks desirable. But you have to be firm. The child has to be subjected to a level of discipline. So for my son's device, for example, we have restrictions. So for myself and my husband, once he opens an app that he's not supposed to open, we have a notification.
Okay,
and we have to give
control.
Yes, and then we have to give an approval before that application can be used. So some of those things are very important. And I know a lot of parents have access to their children's WhatsApp chats, have access to some of those things. But looking at the level of development of the child and the agreements in the home, the conversations we are having with the child, then you know that, oh, the child is matured enough to have this, to have that, and then based on a set of goals and then the values that have been put in place in the home.
Okay, lastly, before we go, you talked about allowing teenagers to have some level of core values before they start using social media. So I really want to ask, can you give us tips on how best teenagers can regulate the use of social media? That's besides their parents. Now, teenagers as a person on their own, how can they regulate the use of social media?
You know, as a young Christian, first of all, one thing you need to ask yourself is that, who am I? So identifying yourself, your identity. And then when it comes to setting personal goals, values, purpose, and things like that, it doesn't come outside of Christ. It comes as a continuous process. So you're growing, you know, you're a Christian. How do you continue to learn? And how do you continue to set your principles? As you're studying the Bible, as you're praying, as you're asking God for wisdom, you're writing these things down. You have a godly mentor that you're working with, you're discussing these things, you're having a continuous process. So your values at the age of 10, by the time you get to 11, it changes.
Yeah.
At the age of 12, it changes. At the age of 13, the exposures you're having. You attend a Bible club, for example, God is laying some ideas in your heart, you're writing. And then when you begin to start asking yourself, like I was saying, for example, you're following someone on social media who doesn't believe in Christ, for example, what on earth are you doing with that kind of a person? You're in a group, you're spending time, the kind of people you spend time with, the kind of things you listen to regularly, they have a way of forming who you become.
Yeah.
They have a way of influencing you. So for me, every young person needs to be accountable. You need to have an accountable system that you work with. And you need to prayerfully find that accountability system, because not everybody that looks all helpful and rosy out there will actually be able to help your spiritual growth.
All right. Thank you so much, Auntie. And guys, I really want to encourage us. Social media is actually a very nice environment and platform for us to learn. And I think we should utilize that as young people. So thank you and see you next time on 24 Karat Hangout.
Bye.
Bye.